Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is DylanEDU, and the idea of living in a democracy is the fact that you get to elect your leaders, and every country has a set time frame of how often you get to pick your leaders. In Mexico, that's every 3 years for the legislature and 6 years for the president. In the US, that's every 2 years for the legislature and 4 years for the president. In Germany, that's every 4 years for the legislature. In Canada, we don't have set election dates. Sure, if you Google Canada's next election, it will say October 20th, 2025, but this election is by no means absolutely set in stone. Canada's constitution says that elections happen every 5 years, but by convention it's every 4 years. Is this always the case though? Well, in Canada, we have two types of governments in the legislature: minority governments and majority governments. Majority governments happen when a party wins over half of the seats in parliament. Contrasting, minority governments happen when a party wins a plurality of seats, but not a majority. Majority governments usually mean a government will last 4 years, the traditional longest time a term will run, whereas minority governments typically mean an election in 1 to 3 years, when either parliament votes no confidence, calling an election, or when a prime minister doing well in the polls calls a snap election seeking a majority. We currently have a minority government, and our last election was in 2021, so we should be due for an election by now. Actually, we should be overdue for an election. This minority government has been different for two reasons. One, we have seen a massive decrease in Liberal support, with the polling averages showing conservative leads of almost 20 points over the Liberals, who are flirting with becoming third or even fourth place in seat count. This means that first, Trudeau has absolutely no incentive to call an election, and he doesn't have any hope of a majority. And second, the Liberals have signed an official deal with the NDP to keep them in power until 2025, in exchange for some key NDP priorities being implemented. Sure, this deal could collapse at any time, but that still brings us to that date, October 2025. What would it take for that to not happen though? Well, one possibility is that the Liberals have a period in which their numbers improve, and they could be in contention for a minority government again. Seeing this as their last chance, they could call an election for a last-ditch effort in prolonging their governance, similar to what caused the 2021 election. The Liberals were polling well and had a shot at majority status, and this would be different as opposed to an election fought over whether Pierre Poilievre will have a majority or a minority government. Granted, if Pierre only wins a minority government, Trudeau may remain PM, but that's a can of worms for another video, so comment if you would like to see that video. Anyway, the point is, if it looks like the Trudeau Liberals won't be in an uphill battle for the CPC to have less than a majority, they might take that as their opportunity to call an early election. Also, there is uncertainty in the NDP Liberal deal. We don't really have experience with confidence and supply agreements in Canada. The fact is, the NDP have tied themselves to an unpopular government, and as the Liberals fall, haven't been gaining any support whatsoever. Just now have more seats that they can pick up where the Liberal vote is falling. And for all we know, the Liberals could do something publicly that makes the NDP displeased, which results in them withdrawing the confidence and supply agreement and voting no confidence, taking down the current Liberal government and causing an election. This could also result in the NDP looking like they stood up to Trudeau and give them, as a reaction, votes from displeased Liberals who don't want to support the Conservatives, as opposed to those voters staying home or holding their nose and voting Conservative. Anyway, what are potential reasons that the election could be held at the scheduled date? I'll say in one word: pensions. You see, once a member of parliament has served 6 years, they qualify for a pension. Many learned this by watching Rick Mercer's video report when Pierre Poilievre qualified for a pension at 31 years old.
Please contact us with a witty story so we can honor a great Canadian.
Doing basic math, we find out that the MPs elected in the 2019 election will qualify for a pension in 2025. So even if they lose, which many likely will, they will still have a pension. Our pal Jagmeet Singh will get his pension in March, as he was elected in a special by-election a few months earlier before the actual election. Basically, it's insurance that these MPs will still get a pension, even if this term is their last. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if many of these MPs just didn't run again if this became obvious. A more obvious reason is that it just doesn't make sense. Canadians reacted negatively to the last early election call in 2021, and the only reason they wouldn't feel that way is because they might be eager to vote Trudeau out. Why face almost certainly cutting your time in office short and risk multiple of your MPs' pensions, especially if Trudeau resigned to make way for a new LPC leader before the election? Why not have the stability that comes with keeping your confidence and supply agreement partners happy and not calling an election? But what do you think? will we have an early election? Let me know in the comments down below. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, please consider leaving a like and subscribing, as that helps me out a lot. But apart from that, have a good rest of your day, and see you.